Howdy folks, Dave here at Thunder Mesa Studio, where today I'd like to welcome subscribers both old and new with a full layout tour of my ON30 Thunder Mesa Mining Company model railroad. For those who don't know, ON30 scale trains are modeled at 1/4 inch to the foot, where a 6-foot tall human would only be about 1.5 inches high, just like regular O scale. The N30 part means narrow gauge. ON30 utilizes the same track gauge as HO scale to model 30-inch narrow gauge, making it a close approximation of the short line, mining, logging, and industrial railways that once flourished in North America. The theme of Thunder Mesa is once upon a time in the Wild West, much like an old Western movie, and the setting is somewhere in the high desert canyon and mesa country of Arizona, Utah, or New Mexico. Since this is a fictional Western, the time period is pegged loosely sometime between 1890 and 1910, allowing me to run the colorful and charming steam equipment of that era. Thunder Mesa is what's known as a freelance operation in the parlance of model railroaders, meaning it doesn't represent any one specific real-world railroad, but instead draws inspiration from multiple sources and prototypes that fit the theme. The theme is also heavily influenced by Walt Disney and his well-documented affection for trains. In fact, the idea for the layout came to me one day when I was visiting Disneyland with my family. We were in line for Big Thunder Mountain, and I started to imagine a model railroad that combined all the different elements of Disney trains. What if, I wondered, there had been a single, real-world prototype for all of the different Disney railroads at the parks? What would such a railroad have been like? And that question was the starting point for everything that has come since. I also grew up right down the road from Knott's Berry Farm, so I imagined a mythos that could tie everything together, from Calico Mountain to Ghost Town to Nature's Wonderland, Big Thunder, and the Disneyland Railroad. I didn't set out to exactly copy things from Disney and Knott's, but I did want to evoke a familiar look and feel, as if my little narrow gauge empire could possibly have been the real-world prototype for many of the train-related things found at the parks. And this required a bit of reverse Imagineering, using the same sort of story-based world building that Disney uses to create an immersive themed experience, just in miniature. The result is that the Thunder Mesa Mining Company is designed much more like an elaborate themed attraction than a traditional model railroad. Trains move guests, and the viewer, from scene to scene to scene, using carefully placed scenic elements to create smooth transitions. And so, anything that doesn't help tell the story is edited out, like the long, straight, boring sections of track that make up the majority of real railroads in the American West. Work began on this current version of the railroad in 2011, but the idea had been percolating for a good 10 years before that. The layout has grown over the years too, from a simple 3 by 6 foot display to its current footprint of about 17.5 by 13 feet, not including the aisles. There are no grades to speak of on the layout, since I found that they make for less than smooth operations, so I simulate elevation changes with scenery above and below the basic track level of about 52 inches above the floor. The tightest turn on the main line has a 15-inch radius, a legacy from the original 3 by 6 foot plan, and that does limit the length of equipment I can run, with nothing bigger than a 440 being able to navigate the curves. The sharp curves add drama, but if I were starting over from scratch, I'd probably make them a little broader. As a model maker, scenery and structures are my main areas of interest, and my tastes run to the charming, whimsical, and spectacular. An early design note for the layout was national park quality scenery, and I've done my best to follow through with that. I design and scratch build nearly all of my structures, since very few commercial kits fit the bill, and it's my favorite part of the hobby. Now the layout has 3 main towns: Thunder Mesa, Calico, and Rainbow Ridge, along with a small whistle stop known as Hanging Rock. The latter is mostly finished, while Thunder Mesa is also nearing completion, but the towns of Calico and Rainbow Ridge are just getting started. As I design my structures, an important part of the process is creating cardstock and paper mock-ups from the plans. These help me to block in the scenes and make nifty placeholders until the fully realized structures can be completed. I'm a sucker for lights and animation in my builds too, and include them whenever I can. There's also a small engine service facility planned on the outskirts of Thunder Mesa town, but that's still in the early stages. Behind the backdrop on the Calico side of the layout is a simple staging yard. This stands in for the non-model towns of Los Feliz Junction and Tumbleweed, where the line interchanges with the parent Santa Fe, Denver, and Carrollwood. There's a turntable back here too, along with some storage tracks and a DCC programming track. And that brings up the subject of layout control. Trains on the Thunder Mesa layout run on an NCE digital command control system. This is like radio control, but the digital signal travels through the rails rather than through the air, and each locomotive has a digital receiver with a unique address. This eliminates the old block wiring system of DC layouts, while allowing for the running of multiple trains on the same line with better control, and additional features like programmable lights and sound. A wireless throttle allows me to follow along with the trains or run them from anywhere in the studio. The layout also has a few sections of ON18 track, and this represents an even smaller industrial narrow gauge, but is still 1/4 inch scale. Operationally, these mining trams at Big Thunder Camp and Calico Mountain act as feeders for the main layout, while aesthetically adding more kinetic energy and visual interest. I also really enjoy building scenery and hand carving the distinctive red rock formations that are so evocative of the American Southwest. Almost all of the scenery is carved from polyurethane or polystyrene foam, and often skinned with a thin coating of Sculptamold, a craft product made from plaster and cellulose. All of the scenic coloring is done with acrylic and latex paints. The canyon country scenery also calls for lots of bridges, and fortunately, I really enjoy building those too. My personal tastes and the time period favor wooden bridges. I've built several so far, but the longest and most spectacular bridge is still waiting to be built over Coyote Canyon. A simple strip of plywood supports the track until I can get that project done. The fictional history of the railroad starts in the early 1860s. Ute Indians led a wily prospector named Badwater Baxter from Rainbow Ridge to some old Spanish diggings near the headwaters of Big Thunder Creek. There were traces of placer gold in the creek, but Baxter found the true vein running through a nearby butte. This gold strike became the Nevermind, now abandoned, and a boomtown called Thunder Mesa seemed to spring up overnight. More strikes soon followed higher up on the mesa in an area known as Big Thunder Camp. Very soon, Eastern investors from the Santa Fe, Denver, and Carrollwood Railroad began to take notice. A route was surveyed through the rugged canyon country for a narrow gauge railway line to serve the mines at Thunder Mesa. This was incorporated in 1877 as the Thunder Mesa Mining Company Railroad, and it finally reached the town in 1879, putting a severe dent in the riverboat traffic that had been shipping much of the ore up until this time. In early 1881, the line was extended to the new strike at Calico Mountain, and an agreement reached with the Calico Mine Company to ship ore out on the TMMC. Future connections would see the railroad extended to the cow town of Tumbleweed, now flooded, and eventually on to Kimball Junction, making a grand circle tour through the scenic wonders of Thunder Mesa country possible by narrow gauge rail. And the wonders were many, from the saguaro cactus forests and majestic rock formations to the geothermal displays of Geyser Gulch and the glittering beauty of Rainbow Caverns. This little mining railroad passed through some of the most scenic and magical country in the American West. Backers of the railroad began to promote tourism along the line, and soon, colorful excursion trains were added to the roster, giving Eastern dudes and their fancy ladies a thrilling taste of life on the frontier. While no one knows for certain who first coined the term nature's wonderland, it's generally agreed that our nation's 26th president, Theodore Roosevelt, was the man most responsible for popularizing the region in the public imagination. While on a hunting trip in 1906, Roosevelt helped to arbitrate a land dispute among the various mining and railroad interests, which in turn led him to set aside large portions of undeveloped land along the right-of-way as Nature's Wonderland National Monument. This fortuitous turn of events came just as the mines were starting to play out. After the 1920s, tourism would become the main source of revenue on the line, allowing for it to survive well into the mid-20th century. In fact, it was around 1953 when a chance visit by three fellows from Hollywood led to a rediscovery of the Thunder Mesa line. Yep, Walt Disney, Ward Kimball, and Roger Broggie returned home with 8mm movies, photos, and sketchbooks full of ideas for a magical little park being planned for Southern California. And the rest, as they say, is history, or absolute fiction. And that, my friends, is the story of the Thunder Mesa Mining Company so far. As you've seen, there's still a lot to do, and I hope you'll follow along with all of the updates and projects and builds going on here at the studio. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You can also follow along on Instagram at thunder.mesa, or check out the photo galleries, artwork, model kits, and merch on the studio website. That's thundermesa.studio. You can also check the website for upcoming open studio days if you'd like to come and see the layout in person. If you really enjoy what I'm doing on this channel, please consider becoming a patron of Thunder Mesa. You can do that at patreon.com/thundermesa. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, keep moving forward. Adios for now.